Hi, friends. Welcome to Words on Wednesday. I'm Ruel. This is Amanda, and we love the written word. We love graphic novels, and we love word-based games. And every other week, we highlight some of the best. And I want to say thank you so much for joining us today. Amanda, how are you?
I'm doing really good. I just got back from the comic shop recently,
Ooh,
so it's a good day Wednesday, you know? It's a day when we get to get together. I get to hang out with you, Ruel, and we get to talk about books, which I love. We get to
yes.
play word-based games, which I love. And also it's new comic day. So a lot of new comics come out today, except for DC, which comes out on Tuesdays, but
Uh-huh.
most of us wait till Wednesday to get everything together. So
Yes.
it's a good time.
Yeah, it is a great time, and it's always a good
Yeah.
day when I get to hang out with you, Amanda, and talk about
Ah.
comics. And we're talking about Saga. Why don't we go over here,
Oh,
folks? If you don't know, we
yes.
have a Discord channel. You can click on the description below for the links. Join their Discord. It's family friendly. Now, I should say this comic actually is not family friendly. The parts we're getting to because there's some adult theme material. So just a warning: if you have the younger crowd around, you may want to put the old earmuffs on. I don't know, whatever you have to do
Shield
to
their eyes.
yeah,
Yeah, I
close
don't
our
know.
eyes. Yeah, but let's jump right into it. Amanda, this is chapter 5 of the series, and boy, oh boy, things are really ramping up in the world of Saga for our protagonists and also the
Yeah.
antagonists as well.
Everyone. This is a crazy issue for everyone. This is an issue that I finished it and I was like, I do not know what's even going on. What's even happening here? It broke my brain. I had to keep reading after this one.
Yep.
Actually, I think this one is issue 4.
Issue 4.
Chapter
Okay.
Oh no, it is chapter end of chapter 4, beginning of chapter 5. You're
Right.
right. Sorry.
No
Chapter
worries.
5. Chapter 5.
Yeah.
Man.
And
Also, can we just talk about how long these are? Like, I just realized last time we did this that each one is a single issue of Saga. Saga
right.
is like jam packed
Yeah.
every single issue.
Yeah.
They feel jumbo size.
Oh, totally. And even our
Yeah.
last discussion, like each chapter, I mean, you could really dive deep on some of the stuff, which you really did a fantastic job of, Amanda, last time. It was like, whoa, there's a lot of stuff here that I didn't see, and I've read this before, but I didn't see, on my first reading. So this is great.
I love coming back to it. It's seriously like such a treat
Hmm.
to revisit as a series. And yeah, yeah, there's always stuff that you find. I think that's the best thing about it, you know? And
Hmm.
the other thing I wanted to bring up was I was looking at numbers for comics the other day and just like the stuff that's been selling really well. And I
Hmm.
basically saw someone was talking about like Scarlet Witch and how Scarlet Witch is being canceled because it was like a series that failed or some
Hmm.
blah blah blah. And I was like, I feel like it didn't fail. And then so I was looking into the numbers and Saga, which is back again. So they have
Oh.
periods where Saga isn't being published. It'll
Hmm.
go on a hiatus basically for a lengthy period, I believe,
Okay.
like a year or something, or more than that. And then it'll just come back and it'll be like a new season of Saga.
Nice.
And we're in a season of Saga right now, I believe, and it's been selling like crazy. Like it's been doing really well for
Yeah.
the sales. So
People
I
love their
love to see
Saga
that.
for good reason. Yeah.
Yeah, for good reason.
Okay. So, just opening up this issue, I had to laugh here. This is like the first shot that you see. So we have chapter 5, and the first shot
I
is
was thinking that
the
too.
prince is sitting there on the toilet. Like,
Sitting on the
there's,
toilet.
yeah, there's so, and it's so bizarre, right? You've got
Reading
this,
that book.
yeah, reading a book. It's got the computer screen head, the TV head, or whatever. It's just so bizarre. But that's the world of
Yeah,
Saga, folks.
it is.
Very neat and very interesting as the prince and princess have a discussion while he's on the toilet.
Yes, they do. Before we get into that, just
Mhm.
a quick little acknowledgement of our credits in this
Oh,
issue, which
yes.
are the same as ever, I believe. Written by Brian K. Vaughan, art by Fiona Staples, letters and design by Phonographics, coordinated by Eric Stevenson.
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
just
Yes, I
that.
always forget about
Yeah,
doing
no
that.
problem. So
Awesome.
yeah, we do start off with this, and I think it's really interesting. I mean, when we left off with the last issue, there was some crazy stuff happening
Hmm.
in terms of just everything that was going on in this issue in the last issue, things that carry forward. It's wild. This whole last few issues, I feel like. And I feel like this is a series too where every issue it just probably gets crazier and crazier.
Yeah, right. Like it's like how do they top? I mean, not there. It doesn't feel like they're trying to top themselves, but it is like you have.
No, it's just stuff that people walk into.
Yeah,
it's always
like,
stuff too you're not expecting it to go there, and then it'll go to a place where you're like, wait, how are we gonna get out of that?
Right, exactly. And it's B. Travis. So, folks, we filmed this live on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast, we filmed this live on Twitch. So we have people hanging out with us, and our friend B. Travis72 says, "Royalty on the throne with no privacy." LOL. Yeah, that's exactly what this scene is, right? Just on the toilet, talking to his wife, the prince and princess having a conversation.
Did you feel bad for Prince Robot, by the way, with this conversation?
I sort of did, sympathy. You know, I sort of did, but it's, again, it's one of those things, Amanda, where we've seen this throughout the series where, you know, they tend to have, you know, they have like serious discussions and there is some seriousness, but there's always like there's this humorous element to it, whether it's just, you know, I just opening the scene of the prince all by himself on the toilet was hilarious.
On the toilet, yeah. The way that the series really uses imagery is like so well done. Like I know it's a comic and it's a visual medium, but I feel like sometimes when people make comics, they tend to forget that it's so visual.
Yep.
And this does not waste a panel. Like everything is so great the way it's drawn and shown. And
agreed.
Yeah. Also, just even like when we look at the colors on the page, right? Like this very cold blue of where Prince Robot is and this warm glow of where the princess is.
Yes.
Just denoting the sense of safety. And also the way the blue, I don't know if it bleeds in his scene. No, it doesn't. But the way the blue is also kind of bleeding into her scene there to kind of signify, you know, like his presence or on the phone.
Wow.
See, it's so well done.
Folks, this is why I love doing the show with Amanda. You pick up on all these awesome bits. And I love that.
Thank you.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, the colors and how they set the mood. And as you said, it's a little cold there on the toilet with the prince. And then the princess is in there, you know, a
like
little
in
warmer.
The glow of the warmth of the palace. Yep. It's like, wow. There's a lot of parallels and contrasts in this issue that I noticed, actually, that I feel like is like a common thing. And over here, this is happening, and then something totally different.
Right.
But then everything also connects and has parallels, which is interesting.
Yeah, I feel, and we've talked about this before. It just seems like this is the whole series up to this point and continuing forward. Like there's no wasted space. Like everything, it's just so tightly told and drawn. I love that about this series.
Yeah.
So speaking of contrast, you know, we have this conversation on the toilet between the prince and princess, and all of a sudden a soldier comes popping in here. Right? It's like, sir, we have something going on, and then we switch over. We go to the next scene.
Switch to what's going on, basically, as we later learn in the issue, which, very much a snap. And so Prince Robot here is basically finding out that his wife, who he's been trying to, you know, get pregnant with for a long time, and it hasn't been going great for them, which was established at the beginning of the story, is pregnant. So that is pretty exciting, but he can't come back until he finishes this mission. He's not allowed. So now he's got like a rejuvenated sense of motivation where he's like, I got to get this done like now. Like I need to get home for my baby.
Yep.
Meanwhile, we got two people. We got Marco and Alana who need to protect their baby, which I also love the contrast of these two scenes. Like, you know, you finish this, you flip the page. One, narratively, it's taking us from the interruption of like something's going on to what the something is, as we find out later in the issue, because this is what Prince Robot's kind of hearing about and then has to come into.
Yes.
But the other thing is like learning that you're going to have a child. The joy of that, but also the frustration that Prince Robot feels like I'm not going to be able to be near my child. Then the parallel of we're going to take this baby away, basically.
Yeah.
To the other thing too is like both of these people, Prince Robot and these new parents, are just fighting for their kids.
Right. Yeah.
at this point.
It's ties in all right. This whole
They're enemies.
Yeah, they're enemies, and this whole series was kicked off, by we have Marco and Alana here, pregnant, and then they had the baby, and it's like this whole thing it's all ties in together. And again, we've talked about how brilliant this series has been written. I'm looking at this picture here. It said, what do we have on screen here, folks? Marco with the horns and the samurai sword. And to me, I got in this like little loop of thinking about how everything influences each other. So this is the whole saga. This is sci-fi fantasy story. He is wielding a samurai sword, and the way the scene works out, I'll scoot up here. There's some dialogue here, and then they start fighting, and just the way it looks to me, it really looks like a lightsaber from Star Wars, right?
Yeah, it does.
It has very Star Wars-like movement and, just the sword. But I started thinking, Star Wars was George Lucas. He was directly influenced by Akira Kurosawa and the samurai movies. So he was taking samurais, right, to that influenced the Jedi Knights, right, in space. And then you think a little more further back, like it's so cool to see everything influence it. It's all goes around in a circle and influence each other. I thought that was really neat that they use it like
That's
this.
so true. It is like an echo of like these influences. I think the other thing that's really cool is this like it's such a beautiful blend of like sci-fi meets fantasy. And I think in that way it's also it's very much got kind of like a Star Wars vibe, because Star Wars is like this fantastical, like it almost feels at times medieval, but it's in space, so it's in the future. And this has that like kind of timeless vibe. Like, when is this set? Like, we don't really know.
Totally. Yeah, just like Star Wars, right? A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
In a galaxy far, far away.
Right?
Like, when?
Yeah.
A long time ago.
A long time ago.
I remember when I figured that out as a kid, and that clicked in my brain, and I went, wait,
mind blown,
long
right?
time ago. Shouldn't that be the future?
Yeah. So I really like that in this. They do have that Star Wars element where it's like, hey, the soldiers, they obviously have like laser guns and this is futuristic equipment. But when it comes down to Marco fighting, he's wielding not the lightsaber, but the samurai sword, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I love about this. Okay, continuing on. So we've got Alana gets shot by one of the soldiers. And I just love the contrast of looks of, here's Marco wielding the lightsaber. It looks like he's very just doing his business. But then the second Alana gets hit, it's like full on rage.
Full on red.
Right?
We go from
the
blue
color again.
Skies to red.
Yeah.
And red blood skies behind him.
Yeah. That
shift, the way it's denoted by the color, the way he's drawn, like, friends, this is like how you do visual storytelling. Like, you also have to think about the fact that like this entire spread, these 2 pages, there's almost like no words. Like he yells Alana.
Yep.
And honestly, I don't even think you need that word, to be honest.
Yeah.
You don't even need it. You could just cut that.
You could almost, and they almost did, Amanda, these 2 pages, you're right. They almost went without dialogue. If you look at these pages, it's literally just him going, "Rawr," and he's son Alana. You could totally tell this without
sheer emotion and sheer action.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's almost, I think it's more effective. I mean, obviously, this is pretty effective when you see a guy getting his arm chopped off by a samurai sword. That's pretty effective. And
that's pretty effective.
Yeah. And then him
that's
smashing
pretty
into
like
his face.
crazy.
Yeah.
And also when we think of Marco, who's this character that the whole time has basically been like saying like, I'm never going to pick up this sword again. I have a kid now.
Yep.
Fighting is dumb. I don't want to fight. That's not the legacy I want for my child.
Yep.
And when is forced to defend, goes to this place. It's like, oh, okay. I love how every character has so much depth. Every character you think you're like, oh, this guy is the pacifist.
Yep. And
then this happens and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah. Right. And it was the whole point of them getting together.
Shocking.
Right. Alana and Marco, they're from 2 different sides of the war. And they're saying, hey, war, what is it good for? No, absolutely nothing. We're going to get together. I don't know if anyone caught that music reference. That's a very old music reference. Check that out. War, what is it good for? It's absolutely nothing. They get together. And they are pacifists in the story. But all of a sudden, these 2 pages, like, what the heck? for a pacifist, this guy sure knows how to wield a sword.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, which obviously we know that he was fighting in the war, but I almost pictured Marco before this moment as like someone who, was like dragged into it and then kind of got there and thought he was going to come and fight for glory and immediately was like, oh, this is terrible.
Yep.
And basically tried to not really fight, like tried to just be like, I need to get out of here.
Right. Exactly.
I never thought that he was a person that maybe was also one of the best people on the field and then, saw some stuff that made him think a little differently.
Yeah.
Not that like he came in at a level like this, but this obviously shows us that as a warrior, he actually has a lot of prowess. So it isn't his choosing to be a pacifist now has like so much more meaning to it because you see that he knows what war is.
Yeah. Right. It's like even more powerful. Like, obviously, he could be an assassin the way he just killed off all these soldiers, but he's choosing not to, right? He's choosing
he could be
not
the
to.
will for all we know. You know
exactly.
what I mean? It's like,
yeah. And talk
about a comparison.
Yeah. It's just crazy. And then again, we do start having some dialogue here. This one's from my buddy Shu, who's hopefully watching or listening. Say fuckers, kill all the feathered fucks. Right? There's some F-bombs for you folks. And this is Marco just going off. And then again, Alana, the voice of reason, comes in. Dear, that's enough. It's like, slow your roll, buddy.
Yeah, this is like, and I mean, there again is like the humor mixed with the seriousness of this situation. Like just that cut to her being like, you're done.
Yeah.
Is a funny situational thing.
Yeah.
But also because we just went through all this, you're like, oh, that's also like really heavy. You're like, that's funny, but like dark.
Right. Yeah, totally. And we've seen this again and again in the series. And I know, well, not to spoil it, but folks, it's going to be coming up even more as we move forward in the story here. And again, talking about what you brought up as far as the colors, we went from full-on blood red rage to, hey, here we are back to, Alana and the baby. And, the contrast of the snow with the blood and, Marco realizing, hey, what am I doing here?
Yeah, like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
and
just that remorse in his eyes here.
Yeah, yeah. And I love the cut. We talked about the different contrasting scenes. I love the cut here. So we've had this ultra-violent scene where it's calming things down. And then, hey, look who we've got again. The will.
Weren't we talking about this last time in terms of the pacing too, about how like nothing ever let you get comfortable because like everything just heightened and everything kept getting more intense and we're like, what's happening?
Right, totally.
This is like the kind of a similar vibe, but it's more like you're like, oh, okay. Like that's resolved. And then you're like, oh my gosh, we have to resolve this. What's happening with this?
Yeah. And I remember
the page turner elements of Saga.
Yep. Absolutely.
Are here.
And this is, Amanda, this is the most, for me, like last episode and last chapter, this is the stuff that really makes me super uncomfortable. Because this stuff, like the, basically child slavery. Again, folks, we do have the, mature theme warning here. But this is some stuff that can really hit hard, because the will is basically saving this young girl from being a slave. But as we see, things aren't, again, in Saga, things aren't always as easy as you would want them to be.
No. And so even though the last issue, he basically gets rid of the guy that we thought, was like basically her handler, her groomer, he's referred to as here. Even though he got rid of him, it's like all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, but like you're not out yet. And then there's this false sense of security, which I think comes from the last scene, which is something that you pointed out that's so brilliant that I didn't even realize. Like when they're running away, you're like, oh, okay, well, they're almost at the ship. Like I was literally thinking like they're getting out of here. And like the will's basically out.
Yeah. He's kicked down the door. Right.
You turn the page.
Yeah. That's like, oh my gosh.
Oh, guess not.
Yeah, look who we have here.
Because Lion Cat is being held hostage, and it looks like these people are basically like, you're not leaving with what basically they see as their, property, their investment.
Yeah.
And the will tries to say, I'm gonna go to the constables. I'm gonna report this, and they're like, oh, the constables are like our best customers here.
Yeah, that right there. It's like, oh. So basically, no matter
Jeez.
what the will does, like he's gonna lose in this interaction. There's no way out.
There's no way
Yeah.
he can win. It's so frustrating to read. You're
Yep.
like, but isn't there something? It's like, no, there's literally nothing he can do. And
Hmm.
this idea that like if he does even fight his way out of it and takes her off world, that they put like a basically like a tracker, a serum in them so
Yeah.
that basically her blood will like harden,
Yeah.
which is like a sounds terrible, like the worst way
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah. Oh, and just
Ugh.
oh yeah, this always always the toughest part of this book for me is the interactions with the kids. But you know what? They pull no punches in the series, folks. So
They don't.
yeah.
It's also, I just realized, like, just the way that this woman looks
Hmm.
that apprehends him,
Hmm.
she is like the embodiment, I feel like, of what is weird and terrible about this place. This idea of like, the sexy elements of
Hmm.
her, the gold of her outfit, the
Yeah.
wealth of what, this industry
Hmm.
has, and the horrifying look of the mask.
Right. Yeah. You. Oh, that's. Oh my gosh. You're
It's like
right.
elegant, sexy, scary, powerful,
Yeah.
suggestive. It's like literally summing up what this entire place seems to stand for.
Right. It's got the duality of, hey, this is very like hypersexualized and
Yeah.
but then very, very ugly at the same time. Not only with the
Yeah.
mask, not only the mask, but what they're doing to these children. And it's like, oh,
What they're
the
doing.
worst of the worst. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Ugh.
Yeah. And it's just so
It's
heartbreaking
just,
too. She's taking the child back, and the child is like in her arms, right? It's like, oh,
yeah, and there's nothing you can do. Like that's the thing that like
yeah.
really killed me about this whole interaction
Hmm.
is there's nothing he can do. Like you just know it's like that's impossible. So
Yeah.
this is what we have to deal with now.
Hmm.
And his like, desperation of being like think, like there's got to be something I can do.
Hmm.
And the only option that they have, they take his card, his white card, which is basically his unlimited credit card that he
Yeah.
got for accepting a job, and then he didn't think he was going to be able to do it, so he just thought, I'll go here and basically blow all my money.
Yep.
They confiscated that, so one, he now doesn't have that to even help him do the job that could help him earn some money towards this.
Hmm.
Two, that's probably the thing he would have tried to use to pay for her so that he could set her free. So that doesn't work. And then the other, like, just like terrible situation is like they take that card with them and tell him how much it is. And it's like more than even what his ship would cost. Like he can't even like set, like, there's nothing that we know that the will owns that even equals the value.
Yeah. And
Ugh.
again, so frustrating.
Ugh.
There's nothing he can do. And as one of our live viewers noted, be Travis72, the authors and artists did a great job making the Will's sense of helplessness feel palpable here. Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
100%.
100%.
Yeah. So, and then of course we have another one of those great cuts. Like, oh, okay, now we're back on the spaceship. Let's see what's going on with Marco and Alana.
An actual moment of alleviation, friends. We've gotten
Yep.
in this issue, we've gotten our first moment of alleviation.
Mm-hmm.
It's this scene. And you need it after how terribly that last scene went.
Right? Yeah.
Gosh, so
Yeah.
hopeless to hope.
Yeah.
Hopeless to hope. That's where we're going. Because now Alana and Marco were able to defeat those people. So now they have a spaceship, which they can take. They have like a little flyer, which I don't know if it's a rocket ship. I don't know if they can leave the atmosphere.
Right.
But they have a plane that they can basically try to take to get to the rocket ship forest.
Yep. And hopefully get out.
Which is literally called Rocket Ship Forest, I believe.
So, yeah. And again, here's another great example of, here's all these fantastical elements. They've just gotten done slaughtering some guards. They've got away on the ship. And here they're just having another, not mundane, but just another, like, regular chat.
Another chill moment.
Right?
Yeah. And also, I love this, like, how their baby, which I don't think did they name their baby yet? She doesn't have a name yet, right?
No, not yet. Remember, early on, she was there. She was
discussing
talking,
it.
Yeah, through the narrators. The narrator was the baby at the time, talking, "Don't call me Hazel," or whatever it was. But
don't call me Hazel.
Yeah, but talk about this
moment.
Wait,
yeah,
right?
Isn't that? But that's the name they've been using, isn't it? They have been using Hazel.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what her name will be, but
right.
She, this little baby, don't call me Hazel, the baby, starts to giggle.
Yep, there it is.
And I just had to say, I wrote this in my notes that, like, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think this is maybe the cutest baby I've ever seen drawn. And babies are not easy to draw, by the way.
Right.
I have friends that are artists, and I've seen some weird looking baby. My favorite is when my friends have to draw babies and then they're like looking at them and they're like, "Oh, can I send you this baby? Can you tell me like what needs to be done about this? Is this weird or does it look good?"
Yeah.
And it's like it's a process to make draw babies.
Absolutely.
It's not easy.
And one of our chatters live here, again, folks, if you're watching on YouTube, Amanda and I record this live on Twitch. One of our viewers here, this is an interesting point. Alfred says that, "I like the art. It's not clean like a Marvel or DC comic. I bet they could create those pages faster." So I think the style lends itself to this type of story, right? It's very gritty. And I feel like the art reflects that, right? It's all, nothing is all nice and neat. And there's a lot of messy moments within the story. And I think, not that the art's messy, but I think it conveys that message of grittiness or realism, right?
It does. It feels very like real and raw, and it lends really well to how I think the emotions are also drawn on people's faces. Yeah. Staples does some really, really great work in this series. And I mean, I don't know if it takes less time, just considering the fact that how I know Saga has like a sort of, like I said, they do kind of almost like a season at a time. So they'll take time off and then they come back to it. But I feel like the look of it is perfect. And I know what you mean. Like Marvel and DC tend to have for their artwork a lot of clean looks in terms of the artists that they use or the looks they want. Whereas this is not that. But I also do have some Marvel art that I'll show you guys later when we're talking about comics we're reading right now that I think you should also check out, Alfred, from Marvel anyways. Because it's very interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
One of my favorite artists right now.
Ooh, can't wait. So again, that's going to be a little later in the show, folks. We are wrapping up our discussion of Saga. If you'd like to join in the offline discussion, we have a Discord channel. You can click on the show notes, the description for links there to our Discord. So, you know, as we talk about here, again, another light moment within all this craziness, right? Here they are being young, proud parents. Like, oh my gosh, our baby just laughed, right? And that's so cute and adorable.
Baby just laughed. It's like this like, what are we going to do? We got to like get out of here. And they're basically talking about like, will these people that we just fought like come to get us later? Like, what's going to happen with that? And then the baby just starts to giggle at that moment while they're having that discussion.
Yeah.
Like, actually, I think they're about to fight.
Yeah.
The baby laughs.
Yeah, just laughing, right? And of course, we cut to the scene outside of... Actually, let me see. If there was something that Mark was saying I wanted to make a note of. Right here in this scene, so right before the baby laughs, he's talking about... you know, they're talking about how he's a pacifist, and Alana saying, you know, you violated some personal pledge against hurting awful people. Marco says, "My reluctance to use force isn't ideological, it's practical. Violence is stupid, even as a last resort, it only ever begets more of the same." So again, a little looking at the whole story, you know, we talked about that pacifism, and then that one scene where he's just blood red rage, right?
Goes for it. And I think that's interesting because then what that tells me about like Marco's, you know, like what makes him who he is, like who he is as a character, is it probably was, he was literally seeing like, if we keep fighting this war, it's never going to end.
Yeah.
Like this will go on forever. And that idea of being like we have to stop, because if we don't stop, it'll never stop. Like that's the only way you can end war, is by choosing to end it.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Yeah.
I think
that cycle of
pretty
violence.
Good philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So the baby laughs, and we move on. We cut to the next scene, or we're cutting outside here.
Oh boy!
Face it, today was a good day, right? And Amanda,
do you
think?
A good day.
Yeah. Do we think the story is just going to end there? Of course not.
Not. Also, I'm sure not everyone in this issue would agree with that statement by the end of it,
right?
So but for Marco and Alana, it was pretty all right, I guess. Yep. I love how this scene now, if we're talking about the tone and where it takes us, now we just got this sweet ending to that scene, lulling us into a false sense of security.
Exactly.
With the stock here.
Here we are. we've seen the stock before, and what
Yeah.
do we have here? On the phone, talking to the Will.
Will. And oh, I just noticed this. Did they write on their helmets "Wings of Death"?
Oh,
Is that
wow.
on there, or
Yeah, there it is. Look at that.
was that always on that helmet? I need to go back now and look. But yeah,
Maybe?
so I don't know. I need to know.
So
Oh,
this,
maybe it is. Maybe it's like what they like do to their helmets to like
yeah.
scare you in battle.
I think of like at least in the classic like American war movies like Platoon and what's the other one? The one by Stanley Kubrick, Full Metal Jacket, where the soldiers, they'll write stuff on their helmets like kill, 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 or whatever.
Kill, kill, just to intimidate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's clearly what they've done here, because I see the Wings of Death. I'm just noticing now as they come towards them, it's the person that says "step away from the baby," and it's just right on their helmet. Like, that's intense.
It is.
I just noticed that. Cool. But yeah, so the stock comes in and is talking to the Will, and the Will is basically just like, hey, do you still need someone for that job? Because now the Will has this situation where he's traumatized from this vacation he was trying to take, and needs money now so he can save this little girl. And so he's willing to even talk to this woman that he said, I'm never going to talk to her again. Remember that? That was the last time he talked, basically, with her. I know. And now he's like, yeah, well, you know, the reason why I was like that before is like, I'm still in love with you. And like, is there something we can do? Like, I really need a job right now.
Yep. And, you know, this again, you can tell that here's someone he vowed never to talk again to. And yet he's in such a desperate mode right now, right? To just get out of just after everything he's been through. He's like, I'm going to talk to her. And of course, what happens next? We have some soldiers flying in.
Also, she totally calls him out on the fact that the reason that he does call her, even though I do think he was still in love with her, and that's that is his hang up. I think he's being honest. But she also calls you can tell that the stock actually knows the Will pretty well, because she says, okay, well, what's the story? Like, what do you need money for?
Right. Yeah, that's right. I didn't even pick up on that. That's
you funny. Love me?
Yeah.
What do you want money for?
Yeah.
I love that part.
Yeah.
But it's true. That is why he called her.
Yep. And of course, yeah, this is again another fantasy style scene here.
Everything converging on each other at once.
Oh, and then and here's the stock saying, "Oh crap," and she's still on the phone or on whatever qualifies as a phone there. And here we go.
Yeah, basically, they land the robot and the guard, and Prince Robot basically, you know, is like, you need to like get off the phone because we need to talk about what's going on with these guys that are all tied up. And the stock's like, oh no, I wasn't involved. Like I have a permit. Like I guess she's a permit carrying assassin. I guess that's the thing in this world. And so she's like, yeah, it's all good. Like I wasn't involved in this. I just got here too. And then she goes to reach, I presume, for her permit. Yep. And the guard freaks out and basically says, oh my gosh, she's reaching for something. And twitchy as they are after seeing all this, which I can also understand for this guard, because like those are people that she might even know some of those people.
Yeah.
Prince Robot thinks of his newborn, as we see from the flash on his screen, which usually gives us insight into the robot's minds, is what that's supposed to be about. Blasts away at the stock while she's still on the phone with the Will.
Look at that last scene, and folks, and there's the Will saying hello.
Yeah.
And we get that last scene, the cut, end of chapter 5. So there it is, folks. Chapter 5 of Saga. Oh my goodness. It's going to continue like this, friends. If you haven't read it through yet, it is so epic. It's so good. And join us.
Also, I just realized on the monitor, the baby rattle is blue. So earlier, Prince Robot was saying, do you know the gender? And she said no.
Yeah.
And she said, but we'll be happy even if it's a girl, right? And he's like, yes, of course. I just noticed the rattle is blue.
Yep. So
I don't know if he'd be as happy. I don't know if that's an indicator that he wants it to be a boy, or if that means anything in this world, that color.
Right.
For gender.
Something tells me we'll find out the next time
the next
we get
chapter.
Together. Yeah, it's chapter 6. It's so good. Thank you for that, Amanda. This is great. Folks, if you'd like to join the conversation offline, join our Discord. You can click on the link below.
Stick around.
New segment, folks, I don't know what we're going to call it. On the shelf or what's on our nightstand? I don't know, Amanda. What sounds good to you?
I mean, I like what's on the nightstand because I don't know about you, but I keep a mean stack of things on my nightstand.
So do I, which never get read, but
and in the nightstand, there's books that sit on top that are the immediates, and then there's a ton of books that are in my nightstand.
Same.
So
yeah. Of course, we'll take turns. Of course, I have this as we continue our read through of Saga and our discussion. I have this on the nightstand at all times, just as a reminder. Hey, read the next one, get ahead on the chapter. So we're going into chapter 6, friends. So that'll be in 2 weeks. We'll take care of that. Or actually, we're going.
Keep this on your nightstand. Your Saga?
Yeah, I keep this on the nightstand.
So do I.
It's just so I remember.
I keep this. This is underneath everything. So this is the base book for my nightstand, and then stuff goes on top of it.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So is that actually on your nightstand? That copy of Saga?
Yeah, I grabbed it from my nightstand.
Awesome.
Before we got together here. So
nice.
Yeah, that is the foundation of the nightstand.
Very nice. Another thing I have is this one. I think I've talked about this before. This is Mycroft Holmes. This is the brother of Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
It's a graphic novel. And the reason why I picked it up, the author is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He is a very famous NBA player, basketball player, Hall of Famer.
Yes, I've heard of him.
Yeah, he played for the Los Angeles Lakers, my favorite basketball team. And the thing that's great, Amanda, so after he finished his career, he became a prolific author. He's written like at least a dozen books. And he decided to get into comic books as well. And he took the legend and the story of Sherlock Holmes and Mycroft Holmes and wrote a graphic novel. And I'm so excited to read this. It's been sitting on my nightstand for months. Yeah.
I feel like, you know what? I was just thinking, like, I know his name, but I'm not usually someone that watches sports stuff. And I was like, I probably actually know his name because of his writing.
Yeah. Yeah, he does. He writes like a regular column. Wow. I forgot what site it is, but his name pops up a lot on social media. He'll just talk about events of the day or politics. Very, very smart gentleman. He went to UCLA, graduated from there many, many decades ago. Wow. I don't know if he did graduate work or not, but he's super smart. And, it's funny, during his career, he was sort of standoffish to the media. And, people took it the one way. There's like, oh, he doesn't want to talk to him. But he was actually, he didn't want to get dragged into being like the typical jock, he said. He didn't want to just give the standard quotes of, oh, we played 100%, blah, blah, blah.
We did good. Yeah, we tried our best.
Exactly. Yeah, put 110%.
So he just like didn't say much. And he was like, because, there's more to me than just me being a jock and saying the jock thing.
Exactly. So turns out he's a great writer. And folks, I'm very, very excited about this. But
that must be so hard for athletes, I always think, because I feel like athletes actually tend to be very intelligent people.
Oh, yeah.
And there's like that stereotype of like, oh, if you're like the muscle, then like that's all you got. But like people that have to do things like that with their bodies, there's a lot of the times there's intelligence that you even need to get to where you're at, if that makes sense.
Oh, no, I totally get it. And I think a perfect example recently is Johnny Stanton. He is a D&D player. He actually played in the National Football League, the NFL. He was recently, he was a fullback. He's a big dude. I've met him a couple of times, and you wouldn't think far away. You'd think, okay, yeah, football guy, but he's a hardcore D&D player, and he's done a lot to bring like...
I'd believe it.
Yeah.
I'd believe it. Also, if there's anything I know about athletic people, so many of them are nerds.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally.
A lot of wrestlers too. Like if you watch wrestling, like almost every wrestler is a mega nerd.
Yeah,
so.
they play
which
magic,
makes sense because wrestlers are basically like theater kids that are jocks. You know what I mean?
Totally. That's great. I love it. What else is on your nightstand these days, Amanda? What else are you reading? Ooh.
So this I just got actually at my comic shop, so it will be joining my nightstand. I haven't read Spy Family 1 though yet, the first volume, so I have that one as well to read first. But Spy Family is a manga that is an anime that I've been watching. I'm actually going to be doing a review for it on my channel for the first season. The second season's coming out soon.
Nice.
And I basically have been trying to get back in touch with my anime and manga roots. I was really into anime and manga when I was like a teenager. Yeah,
Awesome.
Hideo, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, all the people in chat loving Spy Family. This makes me so happy.
All right.
Yeah, so I sort of got into this a little bit, and then I've just been obsessed. So
Awesome.
I really want to do like some Spy Family cosplays. I love it so much. It's so wholesome. It's like Spy meets slice of life.
Oh,
so good.
Okay, cool. So is there a chance we'll see some cosplay at PAX Unplugged, Amanda?
Yeah, I'm hoping to do some cosplay. I might be doing some cosplay with my friend Maggie, or if not, I'll probably be doing something. I'm at least gonna bring, I think, one costume with me for PAX, but I don't know what I want to bring yet. So if anyone has ideas for what they think would be like awesome to see me in, let me know. And if I'm doing something solo, then I will consider it. But if I'm doing something with Maggie, then I'll do whatever we want to do as a group.
And folks watching live here on Twitch, I just dropped the link to Amanda's, where you can follow Amanda all over the interwebs, and also the Discord, where we have a Words on Wednesday channel. You could talk about what you'd like to see Amanda dress up as at PAX Unplugged. I've got one more thing on my nightstand, Amanda. This is a book that my stepdaughter Lauren gifted me a little while ago. It's called Stealing Home.
Nice.
Now, you know, sort of on the sports ball theme, I'm a huge Los Angeles Dodgers fan. I love baseball. And this is the story of how the Dodgers came to LA. Now, it is not a pretty happy story, because basically where they built the Dodger Stadium, they displaced a lot of the Latino and Hispanic community. And it was just straight up, it was wrong what they did. And it's really, it's interesting. You know, as much as I love the Dodgers, I know the history as well. So I always have like sort of like mixed feelings about it. But it's really cool because they have a lot of like primary sources. They talk to people or relatives who actually, you know, lived in that area or in this place. Yeah, they talk about the history. So it's an eye opener, but it's a really well written book. I'm probably about, I don't know, oh shoot, I don't know where my bookmark went. Well, anyways, I'm about a third of the way through. So Stealing Home, again, sports ball, but a little more like a historical sports ball book.
I love historical books, and that sounds actually really interesting. I would probably read that book.
Awesome.
To be real.
Do you have anything else on your nightstand, Amanda, or was
Can you put a link to that in the Words on Wednesday chat?
Oh, absolutely.
Check that out. Yeah. I do. I have a few things. So I got Gentle Chaos. I just got this book today. It's by one of my favorite social media influencers, content creators. It's by Tyler Gesa, aka Ghost Honey, who I found through TikTok or Twitter. I guess now X, whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
Whatever that is. And yeah, he's really, really just a funny content creator. This is his book. It is a collection of poetry and tales and magic. And I was listening to his podcast, and then I was on his Instagram and saw that he was going to do a book. And I was just like, yeah, I need to own whatever this is, because that sounds amazing.
Awesome.
And his podcast is really weird, but really cool. It's like a story about him living in a house, and then there's all the characters that he voices, and like fantastical, weird things happen in the house.
Cool.
Yeah,
that really sounds fascinating. I would definitely like to check that out. What else you got there? Got more comics?
We got Extreme Venomverse, and we got Demon Wars Scarlet Sin. I just finished Demon Wars Scarlet Sin the other day. So this one's just waiting to get transferred to my red bin. Red bins. I have many of those, actually. And then this is Extreme Venomverse, which I'm in the midst of reading, actually. So this is one of the ones that I was mentioning, that if we're talking about, like, you know, professional comics and like just how clean and stuff that they look. It does look clean, but I was just saying, like, this is kind of some different art.
Yeah.
I find that you don't normally see in Marvel comics. And this is Peach Momoko, who's like one of my current obsessions when it comes to art right now. She also did Demon Wars, which, if you haven't read Demon Days, you should check that out. And then after, you should check out Demon Wars, because it's the follow-up series. It's really good.
Nice.
But yeah, so
wow, look at that. Yeah.
She does all the art and also kind of writes the story. Like, she has a translator that I think fills stuff in, and Momoko doesn't say that she's an artist. Peach is always like, she's like, I'm an artist. I'm not a writer. Like, I don't see myself as that. But the story all comes out of her images.
Nice.
So I'm like, you're kind of a writer, because you do the images.
Yeah.
And then you inform the story, and then you have a translator that comes in and helps fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Who's co-writing with you, but she's still a writer.
Oh yeah. I think
And
so.
then, yeah. And then I got some more Dark Droids, which is the Star Wars event that's going on in the comics right now.
Mm-hmm.
So got Bounty Hunters and Darth Vader, which I just got today.
Yeah. All
This
the good
event,
stuff.
though, it's so good.
Is it?
But it's
Oh.
like so many comics. Like,
Okay.
it's a lot
Yeah.
to collect. So if you don't like to collect like 3 or 4 comics every time you go,
Yeah.
or 2 comics every time you go, then you might want to wait for the trades for it. But it is really, really fun. It's about
Nice.
like droids coming over. There's like a not even droids. It's about like this evil AI that kind of comes to life and is like trying to take over the entire galaxy through the droids. And
Oh.
right now it's also trying to figure out how to take over the organics
Okay.
as well.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I got Star Trek Halloween, which is a one-shot.
Oh yeah.
I
Is
love
it
this
on the
video.
holodeck? It's the way they
It's
have
on
it?
the holodeck,
I
I'm
love
assuming. I'm assuming it's going to be a series of like probably a couple little stories,
Oh,
but
so
we'll see.
cool.
And then I just picked this up as well. This is Untold Tales of I Hate Fairyland. I have a bunch of I Hate Fairyland, but I haven't read all of it yet. So
Nice. Oh, cool.
I'm not up to date at all. But yeah.
Very nice. I had a comment here from Michael saying, talking about droids going Skynet, perhaps?
Yeah,
Very nice.
kind of. It's like, but it's like not even the droids themselves because it's this external entity, right? So a lot of
Yeah.
people are like, oh, are the droids going bad? And I'm like, no, like they're being infected by this other. It was something that was created by the dark side,
Oh,
this
okay.
force that's
Interesting.
coming. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Awesome. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
sharing, Amanda. We've got plenty
Thank
to
you.
read on our nightstands. And that's
Oh,
going to do
yeah.
it for Awards on Wednesday, folks. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for listening if you're on the podcast. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye, everybody.